Take advantage of the Boxing King media discount at BYD Sheffield. You can get this amazing car for £269 per month with a £269 deposit. Details in the description.
Boxing King media powered by BYD. Adam Smith, what a remarkable place. You probably know a lot more about this place as well, Albert Hall. I'll just pan the camera just to give the fans an idea of the view that we've got up here. You've worked here many a time, seen many a fight. Tell me which fight stands out for you at this location that you've seen a ringside for.
Prince Nassim Hamad knocking out Juan Pablo Perez in a couple of rounds back, I think in the summer of 1995. Ricky Hatton was on the card that night. I chatted to Ricky this week. I think he beat Brian Coleman in one of his early fights. I folded him, the old journeyman lorry driver, and he was a stubborn guy as well. I think he beat him in a couple of rounds, maybe even one with a body shot. But Nas won in a couple. I remember him having his ginger hair and doing an interview afterwards, maybe with Gary Norman at the time on Sky, saying, "I'm not bragging or nothing, but I'm just too good." I remember him saying that. Mixed memories in boxing from here. Lennox Lewis, of course, fought here, Johnny Nelson, but also the night when Spencer Oliver was left fighting for his life. They had the big entrance with the Omen music, and yeah, and unfortunately he lost that night. And I spent that evening actually over in the London hospital, obviously praying for him, hoping he'd make it. And now we look at Spencer some 27 years later, I think, and just unbelievable having him such a big part of the boxing scene. It's fantastic. And yeah, look, he would do it all over again and twice on Sundays. So since then there's been some big fights, of course, but just terrific to be here tonight for the women. I was there, of course, and really behind it for Sky at the O2 when we had the Savannah Marshall, Clarissa Shields, big female card, and wonderful to see it all happen again in this iconic venue where so many women have performed. Shirley Bassey, I know, has had a home there. Looking at the walls earlier, people like Adele and Kylie Minogue, and great women have been here, and it's fantastic that the attention is on the boxing women tonight with such a stellar card. A goal in an amazing, iconic venue, and so much so that I've made sure my daughters are here tonight too, and I wanted them to feel part of it. It's a special night for boxing, and on the eve of International Women's Day, a special night for women.
Tell me this, Adam, from your Sky Sports experience, a logistical point of view, why don't we have more events here? Because this, looking around here, looks unbelievable. Like, there are not many venues in the country that look this like iconic. Is it cost? Is it because of cost, parking? What is it?
I think it's very booked up. I mean, it's the home to the proms. As I've said, there's many concerts that come here. I think there's graduation ceremonies and talks, lots of things that happen at the Albert Hall. I've seen tennis in here before as well. So yeah, it can be made into lots of different things, as most arenas can, but it's just got so much history. I think Queen Victoria laid the foundations for it. So it's been around many, many years, and in such a great part of London as well, just to the west of the centre, and yeah, easily accessible. And yeah, you want more boxing here, but I guess it comes down to the amount of attention and the bookings and also the cost. But it is a fantastic theatre, like a coliseum, and as I say, just etched in history. And the women are going to put their mark on it tonight. It's just it's fantastic to have such great fights, such great women fighters on the card, and top to tail, just the females. Brilliant.
Indeed. I think we'll talk about the fights after, once they're done. So I just want to get your opinion on the news yesterday regarding Turki Al-Sheikh and Dana White. You'll have seen, the quote that came out that they're going to crush everyone. I spoke to Eddie Hearn today, and he was quite flamboyant in the way he said that I'm the best in the game, I'm the best promoter out there, so it doesn't really matter what anyone does.
As Eddie would.
Yeah, so what do you think this means? Like, because it's quite clear that I don't think Eddie or Frank probably didn't know anything about this, and it seems to come out the blue, and from the outlook it looks like they don't know what's happening now.
Well, I heard about rumours about this for a long, long time, that Turki Al-Sheikh having changed boxing's landscape by putting the best in with the best. I think wanted to go a step further and make it a sort of round world, a little bit like the UFC, which is presumably why he's gone for Dana White to help lead that process. It's a huge undertaking. It seems to be that they are questioning the governing bodies, the promoters, everybody in the sport, just to totally almost sort of reset it. And maybe the Ring magazine would be the title, and there'd be maybe less divisions, one champion each division. I mean, it's sort of what we all want in boxing, is that one champion, so the casual fans really get hooked. But there's a huge amount of work to be done, and obviously the way that the sport has changed in the last year and a half or so, and we're seeing these huge events all around the world, not just in Saudi Arabia, that we just all watch with interest. We're not quite sure what it means and how deep they'll go, and whether Eddie and Frank and Spencer are still going to sort of be that triumvirate around, or Dana White's going to come in, they're all going to work together. We're not quite sure, and maybe Eddie doesn't know, maybe Frank doesn't know, and maybe they're not quite sure what will happen. But I think it's clear that they want to try and make boxing very accessible to the casual fans. But of course, it's not like UFC, which Dana White invented UFC. He brought UFC forward. And I know my brothers got hooked on UFC because the best fought the best. It was under one umbrella, and there was a lot of characters in there, a lot of storytelling. And I think that's maybe what they want to do with boxing. But you've got to remember, boxing is steeped in history. There's the grassroots, there's the different layers and levels of boxing, there's all the governing bodies, there's the prestige of winning a world title belt in the different ways. Even tonight it's a unification of a WBA champion in with a WBC and IBF. It's nostalgia and it's history, and the Albert Hall tonight, it has much of that. So I'm sure they'll want to keep plenty of the history, but maybe they'll just want to make it better. And I think anything to improve boxing is a good thing. But obviously Eddie will want to be the main promoter, so will Frank Warren, so will Oscar De La Hoya. They all will. So will Ben Shalom, who's down there tonight leading the way on the women's boxing and has done a brilliant job with it. So yeah, we don't know what it means. I think it's interesting what His Excellency is saying about crushing maybe the foundations. Maybe it is digging it up and sort of resetting it. But how far we delve and how far that means, I think it's fascinating. It seems like there's big news almost every day out of the boxing world at the moment, and change is great, and we've all got to embrace it, and we've got to hope that whatever happens, it's good for fighters and it's good for fans. That's what I care about. I care about the fighters, that they're getting well paid for what they do, the bravery they show at any level, and also the fans are getting the best fighting the best, and are getting, maybe in a casual way, easier to understand. But there's a lot to do and a long way to go. I think if they're going to crush it and start again, maybe that's the intention to start with, but we don't really know. We don't know really what it means, and I'm sure we'll find out as the months tick by. But we know there's many promotions set for 2025 already. We know Frank and Eddie have got this huge Frank's coming to DAZN. They've got this huge stables on DAZN, the home of combat sports. Sky have got Boxer and many shows coming up. So I don't really know what it means in the short term, but in the long term, if it's good for boxing, it's good for us, isn't it?
Last question. Give me your opinion. Because it looks like they want one belt, which is a Ring magazine belt, and all the W belts, they want to get rid of them. If you as a fan had a choice, would you want it to be like that? Would you want the Ring magazine to be the only belt in boxing?
Well, it's a really interesting question, because I've been brought up on all the governing bodies, the WBC, the Gold and Green, the IBF, the WBA, latterly the WBO. We've had the IBO come in, lots of different ones. I think it is confusing for the casual fans as to who is the champion. And the Ring magazine have the pound for pound rankings, and they have their own lists. And I think as the Bible of boxing, and a very smart move for His Excellency to take over the Ring magazine, it's a sort of mecca. It's the one that the boxers go to. So if there was to be a belt, maybe the Ring magazine belt is the belt to go for. But at the same time, the WBC, the WBA, the IBF, and latterly the WBO have huge history. And you can't just sort of ignore that history. It's been a unification's undisputed. It's been wonderful through the years. to be nostalgic, to remember the champions, the great champions in the different governing bodies. But yeah, I guess if there is one that you look at that might take it forward, it could be the Ring magazine. But there's a lot of work to go, and how the governing body is going to feel about this, and what will they do, and what will the different promoters do outside of maybe Dana and Mark Shapiro and Nick Khan. Are they on one side? Is it going to dominate the sport? What does it mean to grassroots, particularly in the UK? I've talked to many young fighters tonight in clubs. What does it mean for the amateurs? Boxing is the Wild West, and it's been under Turki Al-Sheikh, His Excellency. It's been improved massively in the last year and a half, in that we're getting these incredible cards, the best fighting the best. It's encouraging promoters at all different levels to give us the best. At GBM, we want to put the 50-50 fights on. So what does it mean? What's happening in the last couple of days? We're not sure. But if it is for the good of boxing, for the fighters and fans, then we're all interested in it. You, me, and everybody that loves boxing.
Indeed. We're going to leave it on that note because it shows a bad spot. Adam, thank you for your time.
No problem.